The 2021 NFL Draft is in the books, which means it's time to go over the 2021 Atlanta Falcons Draft recap. Now, the Falcons Draft began with the 4th overall pick, and they went with Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. And this, in my mind, was the no-brainer pick, although some could argue that Sewell could have been a better option, trading down would have been a better option, and I did have my doubts with this pick, because I thought it was going to be Kyle Pitts for over a month, but there were some doubts that still I had, but the doubts went away mostly Monday night. And then it pretty much confirmed to me Tuesday afternoon when the Broncos traded for Teddy Bridgewater, which made me think that they were going to be out of wanting to trade up for one of the quarterbacks. And I honestly think this pick may have been easier because the Falcons, they went to Trey Lance's pro day, and they seemed to like what they saw to Trey Lance. But then when San Francisco took Lance with the 3rd overall pick, I think that it was all said and done for them to go with Kyle Pitts. We were just waiting on the announcement. But this was a home run pick of the Falcons. Kyle Pitts, he is now the highest drafted tight end ever. And I just think that Kyle Pitts is going to make an immediate impact for this Falcons offense. And I think he fits in with Arthur Smith's scheme really nicely. The 2 tight end set that he ran with the Titans in his 2 seasons as the offensive coordinator. Last season, tight ends were targeted on 20% of passing plays, which was an increase of 24% in Smith's first season as the Titans OC, which is also an increase from 20% from the year before Arthur Smith took over as the OC. So I suspect that if Matt Ryan can't perform in 2021, then they'll probably look into a quarterback in 2022. But the thing is, I think that Arthur Smith, I think he can turn around Matt Ryan's career around. And that is a really bold statement to say, considering that Matt Ryan has an MVP award. So I think Matt Ryan's going to have a much better season in 2021. Although some maybe wanted Sewell, but as long as the Falcons, if they address the offensive line in later rounds in the draft, I wasn't worried at all. Now, the second round, this is where it gets really interesting, because I thought maybe this could be the time where they went with an offensive tackle. And there were some that thought maybe Azeez Ojulari could have been an option as well here, because Ojulari, he was projected as high as the middle of the first round, and the fact that he fell to the second round, maybe the Falcons would take their chance on him in that second round, since they picked pretty early. But they traded the 35th pick to Denver for the 40th pick and the 114th pick, and the Falcons gave up the 35th pick and the 219th pick. And they went with Richie Grant out of UCF. Now, he is a safety, but I believe when they announced him as when he was drafted, they said he was a defensive back, which made me think, okay, why didn't they go with Asante Samuel Jr. if they wanted a defensive back? See, this is when I thought maybe they could have gone with an offensive tackle, because Tevin Jenkins was still on the board and Dylan Radins was still on the board. So I thought maybe one of those two could have been the pick there. At least at 35. And then once I saw Radins available at 40, I thought maybe that could have been the pick, but they went with Richie Grant. And honestly, I think he's a very underrated prospect. Now, I haven't seen much film on him, but I think he's pretty underrated. I think he's got good awareness in the highlights that I saw of him last night after they drafted him. And I think that the Falcons, I think he can be an immediate starter for him. I think he can be ready on day one, get in the starting lineup, and have a big impact on the defense. The 3rd round, they went with Jalen Mayfield, the offensive tackle out of Michigan. And this is a huge steal for the Falcons here, because early on in the mock draft process, I had Jalen Mayfield as a late first rounder. And the fact they got it in round 3, that's a huge deal for Atlanta. And Jalen Mayfield, I feel like he's one of the better offensive tackles in this draft class. And I think this is a great value pick for the Falcons here. So I think the Falcons pretty much nailed this pick here by investing in the offensive line. And I think Mayfield, I think he's going to be having an immediate impact for the Falcons. And in round 4, they went with Darren Hall, the cornerback out of San Diego State. I don't know much about him, but at least they're going with their needs, and they really need help with the secondary. So I'm at least happy that they're addressing those needs right here. And these next few picks, because they had 3 round 5 picks. And the first pick in the 5th round, they were with Tyquan Graham, the defensive tackle out of Texas. I think he'll probably start off maybe getting limited snaps, but then maybe he can work his way into a bigger role with the Falcons defense. Because at least with this next pick right here as well, with Atedekumbo Ogundiji, the defensive end of Notre Dame, I think that him and Graham, I think maybe they can work their way into this starting lineup a bit, because really, who on the Falcons defense right now is good, other than maybe Grady Jarrett? Other than that, I mean, maybe, I don't know. And then in the 5th round, with their final 5th round pick, they went with Avery Williams, a cornerback out of Boise State. And again, don't really know much about Avery Williams, but at least the Falcons, they're looking more into their needs. And with their final pick, they went with Frank Darby in the 6th round, wide receiver out of Arizona State. And when I look at Frank Darby, I think maybe this could be a situation where maybe he starts off on maybe the practice squad, and hopefully we do get the preseason games this season, and maybe he can prove himself in the preseason and maybe see if he can make the 53-man roster. And if not, maybe he can just be on the practice squad, then work his way up. Because ideally, this could be one of the situations where he's on the practice squad, or in the event they do trade Julio Jones, because that's being rumored. But I don't think Julio Jones is going anywhere. I think maybe this could be like maybe an Olamide Zaccheaus situation where he starts off in the practice squad, and then he has a couple breakout games towards the end of a upcoming season. So overall, when I look at this draft class of the Falcons, I think that Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, they did a good job here, because going into this, the 2021 NFL Draft was going to, in my opinion, I think was going to make or break this Falcons franchise. And if they had a good draft, they could be contenders as soon as maybe 2 years from now, 2 or 3. But if they didn't draft well, then I felt like it was going to hold the franchise back at least 5 more years. And I think with drafting Kyle Pitts, you get a generational talent at the tight end position. And knowing that Arthur Smith likes running 2 tight end sets, I think that's a smart pick there. You get Jalen Mayfield in the 3rd round, an offensive tackle that I thought maybe could have gone pretty early on in the draft. I think those two picks really stick out. And I think if Richie Grant, if he can start week 1, make an immediate impact, I'd say it's a great job by the Falcons. I think the Falcons did really well. I mean, I don't think they were the big winners of the draft. I mean, you could say that because they got Kyle Pitts, they are a big winner. And I think, well, they probably are a big winner. But I don't think they're the biggest winner of the draft. I think the big winners of the draft are honestly the Cleveland Browns. Getting Greg Newsome, then getting a steal in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and then getting Anthony Schwartz. Because the Browns, they addressed the few needs that they had to become legitimate Super Bowl contenders. So that's all I've got. Tell me your thoughts down below, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time.